Hey, it's Saya. I'm Nicole.
It's Tiffany.
I'm Carol.
And this is what keeps us together.
Basically the group chat in your head.
Living rent free.
Welcome back. Everybody's in the building. Right. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for everyone who is in the building. Don't forget to share so more people can be in the building. And comment below of what you like, what you don't. Well, don't comment what you don't like.
I know that's
but comment what you like.
That sounded like a soundbite. It didn't even sound like your voice when you said that. I was like, wow, what a funny voice. I like that.
You can go write a song of the week.
Oh, okay. All right. So today we are covering Jerrod.
Not Jamal. This man.
Jared.
This poor man. The way we done renamed him.
Man.
Right. I don't even know why I did that. I know how to say his name.
No disrespect intended.
Jerrod Carmichael's reality show on HBO Max.
Prepare to be sick of it.
It's okay. So that being
Also
said,
no longer HBO Max.
Yeah, it's just Max.
Oh, that's right. Max. Sorry. Just in case the old heads remember HBO. It still says home entertainment, whatever.
Just go ahead.
We are going to choose a song that either reminds us of like an embarrassing moment for ourselves or maybe even artist or something that makes you just feel embarrassed about the song in general.
It's a song that gives us the ick.
Yeah. Could be that too. Yeah.
Yep. Song that gives us the ick.
Yeah. I'm gonna go first because I don't know if mine is going to be taken, but I'm sorry that I feel really embarrassed about having loved this song at one point in time, and now thinking about it, it's just I'm sorry. So, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number by Aaliyah. Yeah, that one didn't age well. Just didn't age. And I know, like, can honestly,
we don't have to go into it.
Do you know that the kids are like one of my younger nieces? It came on the radio for some kind of reason, and she was like, "Oh, I like this song." No, you don't. You don't like this song.
It is more than a number.
Yeah, it is.
It is more than a number.
It is.
It is indeed a number.
Yeah, I was a little disgusted by that, but go ahead.
Yeah.
The first song that came to mind for me, apologies in advance, is Kim Porter off of the Love album, Diddy's last album, because it's sick. It's so sick to me. And it was before all of this shit came to light. I don't know if y'all remember me asking y'all, but I was like, is this not weird to anybody else that he waited until she passed away and to dedicate a song?
Right.
It's not weird. It's not giving weird to anybody else. And now it's extra fucking weird.
Yeah.
And I get severe ick about that song. And I wonder how Babyface feels and John Legend feel because they helped create that song. I would feel real weird about it.
Oh God.
I didn't realize
I didn't even think about that.
Well, my song in a different ick direction reminds me of a moment that I was really embarrassed. So back when we would make mixtapes, back in the day, it was actually on a actual CD, not just like a playlist on Spotify or Tidal or whatever.
I thought you meant like the actual mixtape where you were on the radio and you were.
Oh, this is like Napster.
Yes, I got you.
I never got
Napster, LimeWire.
We instead were just giving our whole family computers viruses.
Yeah, exactly. That time frame. So I had a friend of mine that would make all mine for me because I had a shared family computer. So I wasn't risking the viruses on that one.
I did.
So he made me one.
Me too.
He made me a playlist, and for my parents, if you know my parents, they do not curse. They are good Christian people. This playlist, I think I forgot that it wasn't parent safe, so I was playing it in the car. And I don't know if you guys remember Fat Joe's song "What's Love," but like the very first before the song starts, he goes, "Turn the effing mic on." And I forgot because I usually would just play it like when I was driving, not with my parents. So I was in the car with my mom and I remember it about to change. I was like, but I was in the back. So I couldn't skip it. I remember Lars was in the front. I was like, hey, Lars, you should skip it. And he was just like, Mm-mm. And so
Did he know?
No, but I think he had the inkling that something was about to happen.
Yeah.
And so the song went, and Fat Joe's "Turn the effing mic on," and I was just like, like my heart just like dipped into the bottom of my stomach. My brother's just like laughing at the front. I know, and I think that was the last time that CD lived. I'm pretty sure my mom took it or broke it or something.
Gone.
They don't play.
One line. Did she listen to the rest of the song?
I don't think it mattered. I think
What's love?
Yeah. Also, Fat Joe, why would you do that? Like, why did you have to do that? To
Also,
that
the
beginning of that
irony
song?
of you yelling it and the mic catching it because it is in fact on.
Yeah, I
True.
can see that. And they just didn't cut it out.
Yeah, but I was just like, oh man, I really like that CD. R.I.P. to that mixtape because it was great.
I don't know if I have like a true ick song because we could go down this rabbit hole of pedo land. But of all the things that would give me ick,
Did you just point at me and say pedo?
But the not necessarily wholesome route, I would say more so like back in the day when I was like, I mean, I listened to a multitude of different genres, but the Cotton Eye Joe song, I used to
I was like, girl, spit it out. What are you
love
right?
that
Like,
song.
That's not. Did I take the?
You used to like that song? Is that what you
I
said?
used to love it.
Oh.
I used to love it.
Did you
Like,
used to do the dance every time you heard it?
yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like the full line dance.
What's
Like,
the song about?
Dude. If
Cotton
I
Eye
had a
Joe.
man for Cotton Eye Joe, I've
Yeah,
been
that's not the
married a
direction I
long
thought
time
this
ago.
was going to take.
Where
But
did
okay.
you come from? It just is just embarrassing. But
It's
anyway,
okay.
that's all.
I feel like they played it in PE.
They did. That's exactly where I learned the dance.
When did? Why? What?
Obviously,
A decade or two after you.
Obviously, our Northern Virginia
that's how you
education
feel?
was very
That's how you
different
feel?
than Michigan.
That is how you
education.
feel.
I mean,
You asked the question. The other song that came to mind for this genre was the Wipe Me Down. Not because that song is embarrassing in any way, but because when that song was getting a lot of radio play, I must have been learning how to drive because I was in the car with my dad a lot and I would be driving and he multiple times we'd be at a stoplight and the song would be on and it'd be the point where it goes shoulders, chest, pants, shoes.
Yeah.
And he would be like, what? And I would be left to try to explain it. Like, I know why that choice was made. I don't know. But Dad, just go with it.
You gotta do the.
I know,
it's like head, shoulders, knees, and toes,
It's
right?
the vibes. Just go with the vibes,
Right.
Dad. Don't ask too many questions.
Yeah, get him on the dance floor.
can you
Make
show
sure
your
that one's
parents?
playing at the next wedding. Hey, come on. Let me show you real quick.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine slopping my knob popping up with your mom, with your mom in the car?
So I was surprised that I thought that's the direction you were going.
Me?
Yes, because I
mean,
was
my
like,
mom-
oh, I could see that being kind of embarrassing if it comes
It
on.
is embarrassing, but not if it was my mom in the car. Maybe it was somebody else's mom in the car. Because mom would be like, what is this trash? Turn it off.
What song
And
I was
then-
thinking? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was thinking My Deck, My Back. Of like I had to pick a song that I didn't want to play with my parents in the car. It was My Deck, My Back.
That's
Or-
not
That one is that
embarrassing.
Ludacris song.
I wanna
Lick you from your head to your toes.
I know all the words to that
And
song.
that used to be on the radio a lot.
all the time.
Yeah, it was.
There was another one. It was Trina.
Oh,
I got
yeah.
it so big. I wanna look back at it. If any of these songs came in the car with my parents, I would be
Mortified.
red.
Yeah, I
Mortified.
I can think of more because it's wow.
It's okay. It's okay. We don't have to do
I mean,
it.
it's the
I mean,
least-
I think that was our era, right? Like it
It
was an
was.
opportunity for like every era I think has songs that the kids love that the parents hate.
Like
And
WAP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be it. Yep. So there's always that. There's that like, oh, I really want to like something because my parents would never
True.
type thing. So
What's that other song with SZA and I just lost her name. Was dating her producer. Had a terrible breakup. They had a kid.
Summer Walker.
Yeah. Thanks.
Mm.
I don't remember the song, but I remember the music video.
I was,
Thought you were gonna keep going.
No, sorry. I don't remember the song, but I remember the music video.
What was the music video?
They were both like stripping. They were on a pole and they were like twinsies kind of.
Yeah, I do remember. I don't know what the song's called either.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
The visuals were amazing. I don't know.
How did you miss it?
It's stuck in my mind.
It's imprinted.
Catch
Yeah.
up.
Clearly, I'm behind.
All right. So Jerrod Carmichael. Show on Max.
Yes. So,
Get back to
sorry.
The main thing is the main thing.
Talking about embarrassing moments. No. So
a plethora.
Yeah, for sure.
A plethora.
So, to bring y'all up to speed, Jerrod.
Wait, sorry. If you haven't seen it, we're about to spoil the entire
yes.
Oh, yes.
series.
And so the Jerrod Carmichael show, like you said, on Max.
No.
It's not show?
No, it's not, because he had a Jerrod Carmichael show.
It's the
sitcom.
reality.
Reality. You got to add the reality part.
The reality where he just has people, it looks like he just has people follow him around to document his life.
Let me backtrack us. So for those of you that do not know, Jerrod Carmichael is a comedian who had at one point in time a sitcom that he did 3 seasons with before he decided he didn't want to do the show anymore. So it was gaining in popularity, but he decided that he did not want to do the show anymore. The show at that time was a Black-based sitcom that had talking points about different things. So it kind of reminded me of a older version of Blackish, because all the kids in that scenario are old. Jerrod Carmichael's a son in the show. So the point of view is not so much from the parents, more so it's his point of view as an older son with his sibling and their parents. But they talk about a lot of the things that they talked about in Blackish were covered in this show. So he was pushing the button with race. He was pushing the button with controversial topics within that show. Fast forward to after he was successful with that show, he decided he wanted to do reality-based stuff. So he had done 2 documentaries in between some of his other sets that he did. So he did one documentary that touched basically on his mother's relationship with the fact that his father had cheated and had a whole other family.
Well, I did not know this.
Me either.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, where are we going with this?
I'm sharing information because if you want to catch up as to where he got to this point.
Yeah.
So
I didn't see that one, but I'm going to.
Before.
I purposely didn't include those because I want us to talk about the actual show.
Us?
No, I shared last night.
I was just joking.
Okay, yeah. But I've also shared that you guys should watch the Carmichael show, and I know you haven't. So
wait, that's not true. I watched that show when it was airing.
I know the other 2.
Okay.
It's on my list.
No. Hold on, wait. I've watched a few episodes. It just didn't draw me enough to me want to watch it on a regular basis.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, so I'm bringing all that because the only reason I even liked any of I know about the other stuff is because I really liked his show. So I'm moving, you're moving into, then he had a documentary about that. And then he also had a documentary just talking about his interpersonal relationships with other friends. Now we're moving into, he has called the Jerrod Carmichael reality show a radical way of getting to the truth and honesty.
But are the other ones close to, because you left out his like stand-ups. So are the other documentaries like close? Are they, because this is kind of intermittent between
I did say
documentary style and stand-ups, but are the other ones like that?
Okay. No, they're strictly documentaries. But in between, these would be documentaries he did in between his stand-up. The last stand-up that he did prior to this reality show is him coming out as a gay man.
Right. So it's Rothaniel, I think is the name of it.
Yes. And so that his set, and also his set of comedy is not, is more, it almost feels self-deprecating even in the comedy a little bit. Funny? It's supposed to, it's just talking about the reality of his life and being very honest about his life, but
it's also very intimate. Like I haven't seen a comedy where he interacts with the audience as much as he does.
Right. This in the show and all his other his last Rothaniel was very much like his documentary as far as how he's doing stand up. It was very much him talking.
Style,
the style of him talking to the audience, but not only him talking to the audience, but him being very candid and real about some things that are troubling to him in his own life and how he views these things from a comedic lens. They can be very truthful and almost traumatizing, but he finds humor in the self-deprecating trauma that is that. So that shifts into this reality show. So he's calling, like I said, he wants to have radical truths or honesty moments in a reality show that is based upon him and his relationship with other people. So one of the 3 groups first is his like love interest and how he interacts with people now, his love life now that he is an open Black gay man. Did anybody have thoughts on his love?
The summary, or like, are we gonna start getting into the show?
We're gonna get into the show because my first take is after episode, I don't know, 3. Every time I saw that nigga on screen, my first thought would be, how you let him cheat and take him back? It must be your only nigga.
So his boyfriend
that Lotto bar it popped into my brain every time I saw Michael.
Okay.
So I'm like, how are you still here?
Yep.
Yeah. After the first 2 episodes, I think I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish this show. Like and it's more so like, I don't need to see you sucking a man's toes with so much it's enthusiasm, I guess is the right word. Like, I felt like he was licking a plate of a rib sucking the meat off the bone. It was just
because that's what he wanted to do.
Aggressive. And I was just like, if we're going to be seeing a lot of this, I'm good.
Y'all are the only reason I made it past episode 2, because that's where I stopped.
But it was also like watching a train wreck, because I was also like, I want to stop watching, but for some reason I can't stop watching.
Isn't that half the reality shows you watch?
No.
Oh, it's not.
I don't want to.
Not like,
I enjoy
reality.
It's like reality shows
that was something completely different.
Reality shows are terrible, but they're not like so interpersonally traumatic
this
as what this show is.
And then also like
you're very close to the train wreck here. Like, it's not like you're like in another train driving by it. You are like
in the train.
It's like you jumped off last second and then you're like, shit, that was almost crazy.
Also, like watching him like lie to his therapist and his boyfriend. Like, and they zoom in, or like the camera's like zooming to like his phone, or they cut to him going on Grindr to find some man. Like,
his boyfriend brings it up. I know that there's more because every time you lie, the cameraman zooms in.
I was like, wow, you are very self-aware, but not self-aware to leave this man. Like, what is happening here?
Must be your only nigga.
Okay, but I want to talk about this. Please talk about this, because I feel like there's a scene that I'll never forget where he is after he has had an escapade with a man that is not his boyfriend. He walks himself but he walks himself into his closet to record himself. I don't know why that was even necessary, but he does it, and he was like, I feel like I am not, what did he say? There were specific words, because he called on God in that moment. It was like he was having a prayer in that moment, and he was like, he felt like he needed to call out his sexual escapades in a way for him to say, like, he was feeling very unclean, spiritually unclean. And he was real. He was like, I feel like I do this because I am seeking some type of power, sexual power and control over my life. And this is the only way that I can get it. And I felt something about that statement that I don't know that you would get anywhere else. And yes, to get to this point after watching him suck some man's toes that we don't even like know, and he just got on.
I don't even think he knew him.
He didn't.
He didn't know him, but to get to that point for him to then be very real about the thing that I think is really the problem in all of his love life is his need for a certain amount of control and power in his life, that he feels like he, for whatever reason, can't say it's true, or like it may be the way he feels about it, whether or not it's true or not is something different. But I think that speaks to a lot of what people do when it comes to sex and power and control, that I honestly want to do a dissertation on. Like, I feel like I want to go back to school to go listen to psychology to talk about sex, control, and power.
Yes.
I feel like
I don't think that's all that's at play here. I think that his friend in the final episode really nailed it when he was like, it's like you are playing the role of what it is to be the male and you perceive Michael to be the female, and that like, because you feel like, because your mom doesn't accept you and like this act is wrong, you have to play into how wrong the act is of being gay by like treating. And Michael asked him the question too. Do you need
I have that.
the other, like, is it that you need variety or do you need the transgression?
Yeah,
and I think that there's
thrill?
something with the transgression that is, I wouldn't call that power. To me, it's something with like his self-acceptance. That is the reason that that's happening. Or lack thereof. Go ahead.
Some of it is, well, at least from that statement, it is almost as like he was calling out his parents, not in a negative way, but in a reflective way. Like, okay, you know that your dad has cheated on your mom a multitude of times, has a whole nother family, yet it seems like they're still together.
Mm-hmm,
and you think that because your mom accepts it, that he's supposed to accept it. Also, the way I was triggered by this Negro getting in this man's face and then telling him, oh, like obviously being caught cheating, lies to him, and then goes, I'm a sex addict. Like, nigga, this is what we not gonna do. Just because you are hoeing around all of creation and you get caught doing so does not mean you get to label it sex addiction.
Mm-hmm.
But also back to Sia's point, it's interesting that like your lack of control, self-control is what you are now trying to contribute to needing control. Because there were several moments that he would just leave there. Well, I don't know if he left therapy, but like how it was
edited?
How it was edited to us. It was like, you're leaving therapy, leaving your man. He's the love of my life. I want to be with him. Like he's everything to me. I don't need anyone else, blah, blah, blah. Straight to Grindr to invite some stranger over.
Yeah.
To mess with. It's like, it's interesting how he like, how he tried to like, I understand what you're saying, but it's like you're wanting control, but you have a lack of self-control at the exact same time, which is an interesting combination of things and feelings.
But also, what are you trying to get control of, I guess, in your...
I got it. Tell me again. I know.
The question was for you.
So the thing that he's trying to control is Mike. And in a way in which so here's the thing. So my thought process on power control is this, right? He knew somebody he liked for a very long time. He got to the point of being able to say that he wanted to be in a relationship with that person. Then when he got in a relationship with that person, I think that some of those insecurities that that he mentioned even in stand up, as far as his feeling not as learned, there is some race issue within there that he is feeling as well.
1,000%.
Right. And so then you include into the fact that he's also dealing with his sexual awakening in a sense. And there's like this person that I really have always wanted, but I also know I feel 17 and I'd like to do this sexual thing again, but I don't want to lose this person. And I'm not saying that it is right, but I think that there is some desire to overpower Mike's free will to be able to go and do his own thing, for him to be like, oh no, I want to be in this relationship with you, but really I want to be able to control whether or not you leave and go find somebody else, because you can find somebody else better than me in a minute, but I want to be able to control you at this point, but then also go on and be able to do and have certain power over you and other people. It is,
but then they open the relationship. So how does that play into it?
But he does not want that.
He hated that.
He hated the fact that man was sleeping around with other people.
Yes, he did that only to maintain some level of control over Mike. And it may not feel that way.
See, I didn't walk away thinking that he hated it as much as everyone else here seems to think.
Well, I wouldn't say he hated it. I think that he definitely...
It obviously wasn't comfortable. And obviously now you have to think about like you being on the other side of the transgressions
right. I think as soon as he found out that Michael went to that man's house in therapy, he was just like, huh? You were what? Yeah. Like it was an immediate like, oh, so you also want to sleep around? It's not just me. Mm-hmm. I don't think he hated. Maybe hated is a strong word, but he definitely felt very uncomfortable with the idea of Michael having sex with other people in a relationship.
For Michael, it felt a whole lot like Get Back.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
And especially when you when you brought the man to his house, like while he was gone, and you slept with somebody. And
even the dynamic of like having to assert before and you just having to disclose was very interesting, because then he's like, well, fine. Then if I know that that's what you're going to be doing, then I'm going to make the plan to do the same thing.
Yeah. And so to Sia's point, I think it's, when I say he hated it, he hated the fact that maybe the loss of control in that moment, but like I don't even know how to word it right, because for Mike, it's complete get back, but it's loss of control. Like, how do you know he's not going to get you back again?
Right.
It seems like he acceptance a little bit too.
And I also don't, I guess for me, like the power struggle to me is just like, it's not clicking, because even when they opened the relationship and they were doing like threesomes or whatever, and then he was like, oh, this guy on Grindr, like he just sent us this picture, and he's like, didn't you just come like 10 minutes ago? Yes. So like, to me, there's still like whatever driver existed is still existing, even though it's like now supposed to be the best of both worlds scenario. Like there's still something where it's like he has to continue taking it to this next level of like it bordering this line of what they agreed to or what they said they would do, or like it being just like completely out of the spectrum of like any level of like normal. It just, he has to like push the line continuously. And I think that there's just an aspect of that is like self-acceptance to me. That is like, it's just like trying to fill a void.
He needs to identify why he's so insatiable. Like he's insatiable at this point. Like he doesn't seem like he's ever going to be satisfied. And it screams power trip and entitlement.
But it's also, I was thinking too, like, two things. One, him being in this like infancy of being out and gay, where he can do all these things now without the fear of other people finding out, and it, whatever is attached to that for him, whether it's losing his family, his career, whatever, he no longer has that fear. Yeah. So now it's like he can literally do whatever he wants. I was also thinking like, I don't know a lot about you, but you're recognizable to me. So like these people on Grindr don't, like when that person was like, oh, I have no idea who you are. Like, do you really not know who
they don't put their faces on there? What? They usually put
sorry, I'm not familiar with
they usually put the things that are important, like the chest,
right?
And okay, fair enough, because that was very confusing to me when people were like, "Oh my god, like I have no like." Okay, fine,
but no, they may not even put their real name.
Okay, so well, back to that. I think that there's a little bit of him trying to like I said, the infancy of that stage of life. It's like when you start having sex for the very first time. You get that one time, and you're like, oh, like. You're chasing that feeling again, or you want to level up the experience to make it better and better and better. So maybe he's just he's chasing the next thing because he's trying to see like what the ceiling is. What can I do? What do I have access to? Like he even said only reason why he's with Michael in terms because they don't live in the same city is because he's rich. Like if he didn't have that level of money, they probably would not be together because he could just fly him out or do whatever. The other part of it, and the other part of it, I think too, Michael's probably like one of the only people in his life that seemingly accepts every little part of him. Like Michael seems very invested in being with Jerrod because why else would you be? Like there's really no, besides him having money, I don't know what this benefit is to Michael to be in this relationship with him, at least from what I can tell from the show. Yeah. And then being together, I'm sure lots of things happen off camera that we don't see, but seemingly this don't seem great to me. So he seems to be the only person in his life that really is like accepting everything about him. And he has no one else like that in his life.
So why not hold on to that? Yeah. It's my thought process.
But I don't know what the benefit is for Michael.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
But also, sorry. Just like continuously being like, if that is like the most important relationship to you, but it being the person that you try the most.
That's what kids and parents
try
too.
To like,
Like it's like kids and parents too. Like the person that you feel safest with is or the person you're with the most is who you're normally going to be the first person that you may disrespect. Like kids, you know what I mean? Like that happens all the time.
Isn't that wasn't that Colie's
but the core difference between a child doing it and a grown man in a relationship doing it is a child is learning. Like you're literally developing, but you're developing into a person, he's developing into a new sexual identity. That's not the same as developing into how to be a decent human.
But people do it with their significant others too. Like I feel like sometimes that person you're closest with is the first person that gets the brunt of your initial feelings a lot. Not on purpose all the time, but it happens.
It's not often that it's the person that you are transgressing against directly. They get a lot of the direct feelings where you're mad at your boss, you're really mad at your friend, you're really mad at, they get a lot of the raw emotions and having to accept you. But it's also like if the worst thing you do every day is against the person that loves you the most is not common outside of toddlers.
Didn't we have a question of like, does your man love you if he tells you he's having an affair or he keeps it a secret from you? Was that one of our questions?
Yeah, it was.
Like, I feel like that's the same type of thing, right? Like, I love them, but I'm still going to I have been, and I'm still transgressing against them, but I'm not going to tell them.
We all agreed that wasn't love.
Right. I agree.
But we're all women.
Yeah.
We all agree that there's also boy math, because there's a lot of people in those comments, a lot of men in those comments, like, yeah, of course I love the person that I'm cheating on and lying to the most.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But he's not lying.
He was lying.
He was.
He was until he got caught.
But even then,
there's a lot
even
of times
after
he got caught
there's
and
things
kept lying.
that part. So it's like,
I'm gonna take you to therapy.
Just because you got caught about the things you got caught about. You may not know about who I was fucking on Monday,
To be
but
clear, I'm
maybe
not
you know about
defending
who
this
I'm
man.
fucking
No.
on Tuesday.
I mean, y'all are, but it's fine.
I'm not defending his actions by any means. That's not what's happening.
At all.
I am stating the reasons as to why it is a control and a power grab. That was the only thing I'm saying it for. Like, I'm not defending him in any way. I am just recognizing that there is some things that our psyche doesn't realize are the things. And I think he admitted to in a way I've never really heard people talk about. Him saying it is a need for power and control is a very real statement that most people are just like, oh, I just like to sleep around. That's not what it is. But I think that, to me, what I love about this documentary, as much as I despise this documentary, is that, like, the realness of him being aware of these things, whether or not he changed or fixed them at all, because he did not. He did not in any way, shape, or form. He did on all the relationships that we're going to talk about today, he did very little moving of the needle. He made full awareness of the mess, but he made very little adjustments.
I also, and this is a larger conversation, and maybe we table this until the end. I don't know that I call this realness. And that's another core issue I have with this entire production.
See that.
Okay.
Because a lot of it is what he's saying is like, well, this is my process and I'm doing it because it's easier for me to do because the cameras are here. Like, you need an entire production team to have these heartfelt conversations with the people that you claim to love in your life.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just weren't having them. And that to me is not like being real. If you take this opportunity to kind of exploit the people that are in your life as a means to progress this conversation where I can't even know. I'm not even sure that you're growing in it. But
he the entire show gives troll the entire time. He's just consistently trolling the people around him. Yeah. And in doing so, to your point, I believe that how the people who he's in love relationship, whether it be his significant other, his friends, his family, he doesn't quite know how to love them or himself. So how it's translating is troll. And until he figures out how to love himself fully and whoever he's becoming, he's using his troll behavior to just get by. It's troll behavior, his money and his entitlement to get by with everybody. Mm-hmm. And people are either going to allow him or not allow him. The few occasions that I saw, and by few, I mean one or two, occasions where he got checked, he was like, yeah, I don't know if I believe that.
I have kind of agree, kind of not. I'm not sure. I did not love, I feel like the ambush technique to me, I don't like. Because as a person who needs to process how I'm feeling about things, and to really get my thoughts together, don't ambush me, because my initial thought and comments on how I respond to you are not going to be as kind as they would be if I had time to process. So for me personally, I do not like how he ambushed everyone on this show in every single episode. I don't like that. But I do kind of understand why he might have felt the need to do that if he's tried to have these conversations in another way off camera and nobody's trying to have them.
But does he say that? Because that's what I didn't gather. Sorry.
So it's okay. So Tyler, the creator, I'm pretty sure he tried to have that conversation with him and he blew him off. Well, I don't know how in depth he had that conversation, but he at least tried to have some type of conversation with him and he blew him off from what we understood. He tried to have the conversation with his mom, I believe he said before, and she was not trying to have the conversation.
But then there's other scenarios where it's with his dad, where he was talking about you never brought it up, so now you don't get to judge how I bring it up. And then with his friends, where he was like, I've never really called anybody to apologize before, but I guess that's something that I should do, and then does it all on screen. So I guess it's maybe like 50-50.
Yeah, I think maybe, well, it's very clear. Well, I'm sure we'll get to this more. It's very clear he was very, very, very close to his mom, just based on how that whole episode went and in depth it was. And maybe her rejection is what spiraled into him being like, no one is ever going to have this conversation with me the way I want or need to have the conversation. Mm-hmm. And so that maybe is what spiraled him into, I'm just not going to have this conversation with you off camera. I'm going to ambush you with it and get your first raw whatever.
But even is it his siblings when he went to go home and he's talking with them and she's like, well, it's not really fair because you've never tried to like really like have this, you cut us like all off. This. Yeah. Right. So like to now try to do it and to like dredge it up and be very direct on camera, it doesn't really feel like it's a one-to-one with like how any of this got to this point in the first place.
Right. I don't think he did it with everyone. It seems like he tried it with some people. They didn't respond the way he thought they should have, and now everyone get the smoke.
I mean, well, I think creator being one rubric for that is kind of not a place to start.
It also seems like he ambushed people who just disagreed with him. So it's like if you were on the same page with him, then he had a conversation. But anyone who had an opposing opinion of his, he ambushed.
Yeah.
Right. Or if he was like clearly in the wrong, he kind of went hat in hand more than like attack mode.
Right. Yeah, because are we going to move on to Friends?
Oh, I wanted to touch on the Tyler thing because I don't think we have.
Sure.
That's fine. Lover, friend.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
Wannabe lover.
Yeah. So we started.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Fair. So transitioning to that, I think that there was so much that I wish did happen off camera, and maybe then on camera them discussing how they got to that point. But it's more
productive.
Not even more productive, but I just feel like I don't know. Tiffany feels differently about Tyler because she knows more, I'm sure, about him than I do. But I just feel like it would have been nice, I think, for Tyler to not have to finally get together and it only be because Tyler knew there were going to be cameras there. He told him, but that being the catalyst for them really having a conversation. I really wish that conversation would have taken place elsewhere, and then them getting to the post of it. Like I understand. I completely understand where Jerrod's thoughts were with relation to Tyler. I just don't know if I needed the conversation to be.
It wasn't really a conversation.
It wasn't at all.
It was not at all. But all of that awkwardness.
It's watching two men eat lunch.
Right. I was just
dinner.
I wish that Tyler could have had the capacity to have a conversation, which I think might have happened had they had an actual conversation off camera.
Me too.
I do believe that entire scene just made for good reality TV because it was disrespectful. It was
really difficult to watch.
Yeah. It was very hard to watch. It was like watching, like you said, a train wreck, but by derailing and then off of a cliff into rocks.
It was very clear that Tyler, the creator, did not want to have this conversation
at all.
But he got texted about the conversation and that there would be cameras.
Where he also didn't have it.
It doesn't matter.
He also has been texted about that conversation where he dubbed him.
Right.
It's giving Cameron on CNN.
Right.
Same thing.
I think it's like one of those things like, okay, we're going to have a conversation on camera, but maybe you don't know the topic. And then when you sit down and I bring up something like,
no, he knew the topic too. I read back and watched because I was like, I need to make sure before we talk about this that I'm on point. No, he knew.
So he knew that there were going to be cameras and he knew the purpose of the meeting. Mm-hmm. He was like, fine.
He liked him?
Hey, we haven't talked. It was like, hey, we haven't talked in a while. And I know the reason as to why. And I think that we really need to have this conversation. And they're going to be cameras.
I think that I would like to do it on camera.
Yeah.
With
something like that.
I mean... Yeah. Okay, I hear that.
Didn't he look surprised when there were cameras when he came in?
No, he was surprised at how many people were there.
Yeah.
Not that there were cameras.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was don't get me wrong. I'm sure
so he might have froze up.
Yeah, I'm not denying that at all, but that's the reason why I wish it was on camera. Like, I wish they had.
It's still bad friendship. Like, if somebody goes...
On whose end? Who's the bad friend? Jerrod or Tyler?
That's a real question.
Oh, that is a real question.
Because also Jerrod ask him over text?
Yeah.
Ask him what? Oh, to come, right?
On, yeah.
Well,
No. Like when
they had both.
Okay. All right.
Both. He told him he liked him over text, and he also told him, "Hey, can we talk about this in front of the camera?"
I'm gonna say that everybody plays a part in the situation. Because we've had this conversation before about when you hang out with somebody. I mean, when you hang out with somebody that's your friend and then they try to shoot their shot and you're like, no. And then they continuously keep trying to, like, you're annoyed by it. We had this conversation before.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if we had it on camera.
No, we did. It was,
I think it was a friendship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
It was brief, but we still talked about it.
Yeah.
And I am, like I said, while everybody plays a part into this situation, I'm not going to say that Tyler was the bad friend, because it's almost like it gave to me, or at least how I interpreted it, that Tyler gave his answer, and now Jerrod wants to continue. Like, you want to beat a dead horse. Why are we still talking about this? Yes, I was irritated. I'm not irritated. Order me some food. Let's do what we would normally do when we hang out. And move on.
But that's just it. They hadn't been talking.
No.
So it'd be totally different if they had been having a conversation beforehand and it was fine and things had gone back to normal without anybody talking about it. I don't know that would have been enough for Jerrod, but I think that I understand what you're saying as far as like, hey, let's just move forward.
Right.
That'd be great, but that wasn't happening.
Listen,
that wasn't happening before camera.
When you change the parameters of a friendship by asserting that you like someone and that you want to change the relationship, that is a acknowledging risk you take.
Right.
Yeah.
He knew that. That's why he texted.
So like, I just feel like
stupid, but he texted.
When you do that and then the relationship is different because you change the relationship, then I just have a hard time shooting Jerrod bail in this scenario, especially because we've seen him do the exact same shit for less to his actual friends, where there are less stakes involved.
Yeah. No, first of all, those were later things that I didn't realize about him beforehand. But I do, I guess, understand from that standpoint, that it's going to change. That's the reason why you're afraid to say anything in the first place. But your hope, whether or not it happens or not, is that if this isn't something that other person reciprocates, that you guys can be close enough to have the conversations to pull y'all back together. If that makes sense, right? Like, you're shooting your shot with the hopes that the relationship can survive. I understand that
it can survive, but it has to change.
Right.
I think now all I'm thinking is that, like,
you try and get
things that I'm doing in my friendship to you are making you think that I want to be romantically involved and I don't. So now I have to like reevaluate what our friendship looks like.
But
I don't know. I guess maybe as a person who has done it, and it didn't go as bad as that.
But also how he responded also was not okay. Like how Tyler,
part.
I mean, I get you not reciprocating those feelings, but didn't he call him a bitch? Like it was like very flippant. Like
you silly bitch.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that is what he said.
That's what I'm saying. Like I get you not wanting to move the relationship forward, but he called him his best friend. I think he said brother, which is also like, So like, if we're that close, like. Can you not disrespect me when I tell you something that feels personal to me?
But there's also an aspect of this where it's like, and this is where I don't, like you said, I know more about Tyler the Creator.
Niggas are different.
No, but that's not all I'm gonna say. Like there is I don't really know Tyler the Creator like that. I don't know a lot about him, but I assume a lot based on how he moves. I feel like you silly bitch is a very commonplace response for Tyler on less serious things.
Yes.
So it's probably not that bizarre, but also like he's just not the guy that I'm gonna look. He's not a Michael. If we're talking about a spectrum of people that you like, there is Michael, and on the other end, there is Tyler the Creator. I just I don't think that he is I don't see him being a very like emotionally empathetic, like caring, like person. Like I don't. But he's never come across like that. I mean, even when Frank Ocean came out and people were like, "Oh, how do you feel about Frank Ocean coming out?" I know that he's close, and he's like, "Well, I always knew he was weird." What?
You know what? I always assumed that was for play, and that the real relationship he had with his friends was different, or but at bare minimum.
But then it's play though now because we're on camera.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, but it's never, but it never. Okay, but I think that's part of the reason why I was saying I'd like there had to have been something different off camera.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
For that point, like it'd been different if he was like, yeah, and we had a conversation finally after there was some silence and he realized that really wasn't the best response for our friendship. That's me putting a 100
on 10 toes down.
Yeah.
But I also don't know that I ever got the vibe that like, and maybe this is just because this is the only scene where we really see Tyler. Tyler is not calling Jerrod his best friend. He's not calling him his brother. He's not.
I thought he did at one point.
He did. He's the one that was like, we were like brothers or something like that.
Oh, brother. Yeah. Oh, because he played on it. He was like, we're like, because the way he said it, it was like sis.
Right.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But it's still, to me, that was not like we're like family. It was like, we would never fuck.
Well, that's what he thought.
Yeah,
Tyler, that's what I'm saying.
So like even when he said that, I didn't take it to mean that like I always felt like we were really close. It was like I felt like we were
like bros.
Yes, but I follow.
Yeah. I don't know. I agree with you. I don't know if I expected this profound conversation between the two of them. I thought I was going to see a conversation between two friends, and it seemed like Jerrod was friends with Tyler, and Tyler wasn't friends with Jerrod.
And maybe that's why I feel less surprised because I never saw anything that said that Tyler felt like they were great friends.
I don't know,
but yeah, you're right. He was definitely owed more. I'm not like trying to like that's not protecting a human. You know what I mean? Like you obviously want to see someone be treated better, but like my expectation apparently is on the floor.
Well, but also as we watch more and we learn about Jerrod as a friend, he's a trash friend too. Like the fact that his
big trash.
Like,
absolutely.
At every point you have to be center of attention. Like even like his friend's wedding when he was like, oh, go to Men's Warehouse and get these, like I wouldn't be caught dead in Men's Warehouse. And then he goes and he don't even get the right color collared shirt to wear to the thing. And then after all that, the nigga misses the wedding because he was trying to find clothes. Like
no, that nigga went to go get food.
Oh, that's what it was. He missed it because he was trying to get food. And then he doesn't even apologize. Like he just like shows up to his house like, oh, I'm gonna give you my wedding speech.
Well, you want to know why? Because his arrogance precedes him. It is like he sucks all the air out of the room. And if things are not about him, then what is it about? And that watching that episode, that in addition to his other friend, which I'm going to talk on in a minute, aggravated the hell out of me. Because for you to have a role in someone's wedding, first of all,
the best man, wasn't he the best man?
You're the best man. The fact that you don't have your shit together like even the day before the wedding is trifling. Then you show up and then don't show up because your arrogance is like, oh, well, I need food, not let me go support my man's at his wedding. And that to me was like the tip of the iceberg until he's like, okay, yeah, I want to help my friend get a come up. I'm going to move her here from a whole different state, let her live in my home, tell her, oh, I got your back, sis. You gave her what was it? A month?
Yeah.
1 month she stayed there. And then on the 30-day mark, he was like, so here's your lease.
I don't blame him.
Keys.
I don't blame him for that because.
But the reason, okay, hear me out.
He was like,
I understood him.
That part. But
you do need to leave.
The difference is you having boundaries regarding how many days somebody's staying in your house because they're visiting versus you moving someone out, like saying, I want to help you. Come here and come stay with me.
Is that what happened?
That's exactly what happened.
Well, there was some miscommunication at some point because he was surprised with how many bags she had.
I don't think he expected her to move out there. I think he was like, oh, you have an audition, you can stay a couple days. Like sis was moving. I think Jerrod thought she was coming to visit.
I thought
I'm not sure what they thought.
I thought he had they were having a conversation. I'm not sure who encouraged who first, but it was definitely him being like, yeah, you can do that. Yeah,
I think it's more of those like, oh, that's a good idea, but like not like moving with me. You know what I mean? Like we're having a conversation, you're like, it would be really cool to go do this. And then the person actually plans, you're like, oh, you were for real?
I think differently only because of the like clip-ins with the stand-up where he was like, we used to daydream and talk about like, oh, when I make it, don't worry about it. I got you.
Yes.
And he was like, and then
it actually came
actually made
it.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know. I don't disagree that he should have treated her better. I do agree as someone
They should have had the ground rules.
Yeah, like her
Agreed.
not cleaning up after herself or having her clothes all over the living room. And like,
absolutely.
Especially someone who's not lived with other people, doesn't like living with other people. It is very hard to then share a small space with another person without talking about how long are you staying? Where are you going afterwards? This is how I like to live my life. This is how I want my space to look like. It seemed like none of that happened. And so he got very annoyed very quickly. And he has the means to be like, I rented you your own spot.
He didn't even cross town.
Yeah.
He signed the lease and was like, "Girl, make sure you pay next month."
That
like,
and didn't even tell her that part.
I got your first month.
Now that was
you did not tell her that.
well, not knowing her budget and moving her to a place is crazy.
Yes,
Wild.
That and see, that's what I'm
Wild.
getting at is like not have a conversation and not understanding like because if she's now let's just say from her point of view, let's just say
downgrade her a bit because the place did look a little sketchy.
Yes, because he definitely walked around like I would never live here, but here you go.
I think you can afford this.
You can have
With your
this space.
broke ass.
Maybe you can afford it. But without having a conversation with her about it, I'm like, or at least saying, okay, look, it's been 30 days and there's lots of things that you said you were going to do that
What's the
haven't
plan?
been done yet. What's your plan? That would have been a different scenario. Like we would be having a different conversation. But being the fact it was like on the 31 day mark, he was like, here's your shit. Like,
Also, doing it again without having a conversation on the show, talking shit about her on your stand-up to camera, talking about she thought I was doing her a favor when really I was like, bitch, move out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's a shitty ass friend.
Yes.
Yeah. He's not a good
For sure.
friend, for sure.
No.
That's a shitty ass friend.
No.
Yeah.
But also, it seems like that's why he, even towards the end, when he's like, I'm doing the show so I can like see, like, this is his only way of like maybe looking in the mirror. Like, he can't do it any other way. So, like, him
that's narcissism.
watching it back.
What?
I'm just saying, like,
Can't
it seems like
acknowledge your accountability until like your own actions until you see it on
but
TV.
That's basically what he said. Like, he wanted to be able to see it play back to him and like
remember.
actually watch it.
Yeah.
Because even with like the masked man, which at first I was just like, what is happening? But I was like, I wouldn't want to be shown on the show either. Like, I get why you put the mask on because keep me out of it, sis.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end, I think he was like, this should never air.
In the beginning, he was like,
my position hasn't changed.
Yes.
because Jerrod was trying to defend his point as far as like wanting to do the show because he thought that it was, to your point, going to reveal some things. And he was like, no, what's going to happen is everyone who's watching this, because it's been edited by the eye of you or whoever else is editing it, is going to have judgment about X, Y, and Z when life is not like that.
Mm-hmm.
Life is not like that in any way, shape, or form. And you should be able to know that without needing the cameras.
Yeah.
Because what is therapy doing?
Nothing.
But also, this show doesn't show, like, I did not come away from the show being like, wow, I totally understand you. And now I get it all. And you're a great person. Like, this show did not make me like him more.
I walked away and like, you're a sick man.
He's like, what was the other person, Carol? We had talked about one day, like certain people that shouldn't be on TV. Kelly Price and him. I believe it was one other person, but there's one here. There should like never be on TV because you are showing people you're not a likable individual. And
yeah, because I actually liked him at the Rothaniel. I was
Yes.
like, oh wow, I don't even know this man, but like now I want to like see more of what he does. But now I'm like,
tried his stand-ups
who cares?
before that, and I was really like happy for him after Rothaniel, and now I'm like, oh,
yes.
But I
Some of
did
his
not
documentaries, I was like, they were not him centered as much, but his family. And I was like, oh, this is not like I see the point. And now I'm like,
lost the plot. I have lost the plot.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't know if it's the tips tangent, but that's what I'm going to close with. Like,
okay.
We can get to that.
Yeah.
Are we still talking about friends, or should we transition to family? I have like a question that might transition us.
okay.
Sure,
Because the other
transition.
friend I thought was weird, but I don't know if there's a lot to touch on. The guy with the black guy comedian with the mohawk.
And him trying to make him. Yeah. It was like,
That was the other. I mean,
I like your
again,
individual stand up, but you should do it this way. Sir.
yes.
But also, you're not, I don't know. Your friend, never mind.
Yep. What Carol said.
Okay, what were we going to say?
I noticed this like thing across a couple episodes where like first in the Friends episode and then with his dad's episode where both people, I think it was after he was doing his apology tour and one of his friends was going off on him and they were just like, you know what? You're going to do whatever you're going to do, Jerrod. And then his dad said the same thing to him in the next episode. And I was like, oh, are we seeing like a motif here? Like, I wonder if like he's catching on to that, like where he keeps acknowledging that like, I'm really selfish. I'm a selfish individual, but it's not like an admonishment. It's just like an acknowledgement of fact.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if like it being reflected back to him in that way. I mean, I think the answer is no, because self-actualization is not his strong suit. But did it do anything to you all, I guess, like as viewers, like noticing that was something that kept coming back kind of?
I think for me, yes, no, but I also, and I don't know if this is going to answer your question or derail us into another. So stop me if it does. I was watching and I found myself feeling really bad for the people that he was that he felt wronged him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the dad episode and the mom episode, well, momless. And we can talk about that later. But dad in particular, I'm watching it and I know you feel very hurt from them rejecting you and like not accepting who you were and them having a very strained relationship after that stand up and all of that. But like his dad sincerely looked like he was going to cry. Did he cry? I can't remember if he actually cried or if he just looked like it when they were doing the cross country camping trip.
Yeah, at the bonfire.
And I was just like, why is this the way that it's almost like you hate this man. And you may have a lot of reasons to hate him because I do not know the entire backstory. I only know about the hurt, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just like, I feel like I should not feel bad for your dad for having this conversation in a way that you feel is necessary. But I'm also just like, Jesus, like this is such a bad way, especially if you're trying to repair the relationship. This is not the way to do it, especially as I'm watching it happen. I'm like, your dad is not, I don't know if this is doing what you think it's going to do.
It's not.
Mm-mm.
It's he's truly not
going to give up that information that you want, the thing that you need.
Yeah.
But I also don't know that he has like the means. Like I think like I like walked away from that episode just feeling like the thing that sticks with me most is at the end of that episode, right after Jerrod goes off on him and he's just like looking into the fire and he just starts whispering under his breath, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. And I'm like, I'm curious to know what everyone else like thinks that meant. But to me, it was like, I knew I should have never come on this trip. Like I knew that this was a setup for me to feel exactly like this right now.
Yep.
And that this wasn't going to do anything to actually like benefit or grow our relationship. And that to me just was like, again, to your point, like very heartbreaking to me on the behalf of the dad. Because like what I'm seeing that maybe like Jerrod can't get out of his own, Jerrod can't get out of his own way to see is that like there is a man who like does not have like the means or like maybe the know-how to like have the big emotional conversations that obviously should have transpired across years before then, and instead is trying to be present in a way that makes his son feel supported even at a time where they are not seeing eye to eye. And that just being completely like trounced on. So yeah, that was very, very difficult to watch for me.
It's so the thing about this with his dad that I've just had a lot of I kind of understand, I guess maybe because of the progression of where these documentaries have gone, but it is this thing where like they tell you with therapy, like you can't expect other people to do the work that you're going to need. You're just going to have to put up the boundaries or do the work yourself to understand the people where they're at. And I don't think that that's what's happening with Jerrod as much as what I think both of them want is a closer relationship, but Jerrod needs there to be a realness to the relationship that his dad is not ready or able to give, from the standpoint of like, I think Jerrod just wants to be able to say, like, I know he loves to poke the bear, so you see him all the time, like purposely trying to goad people. But I think what he really wants is there to be this level of honesty, and he's going about it a very wrong way to be able to get it, right? I think that they're speaking from personal experience, I think it's so important, and you really want to be able to get on the same level with understanding where somebody is and maybe even having a conversation where I'm sharing something of one level and you share something of one level, and hoping that the relationship becomes that as you become more of an adult. And I think that that's where what he wants from his father, but is hoping that he can do it through these conversations when that's not necessarily how that's going to work. Like, I think he's almost,
and it's not really what he's asking him to do in those conversations. It's like he's trying to pin him to a wall, and then it's like, respond.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, I understand that you really feel some type of way about this. He's felt some type of way about this. He's wanted his dad to do more, not only with relationship to himself, but also relationship to his mother, right? Like wanting him to, he had a whole family outside of their family. Yeah. There are other kids. And he's like, it's not just a I'm sorry and move on. It's more of like, let's have a conversation. How did we get here? And I think he's also contending with his grandfather and his father did these things, and he's kind of in this same space.
Right.
And if we have these conversations, maybe there's some generational heal. And I think he wants that to happen, but I don't think that that's the way it does happen, if that makes sense. He wants it to happen, but I don't think that that's the way it happens.
I also struggle with, is that how he wants it to happen? Because if he's only having these conversations when he's on camera, then his dad doesn't even know that that's what he wants to have happen. Yep. And I don't know. I just like come back to that and I struggle, and I don't know.
No, I feel the same way, because in that moment, I was just like, I feel like I should not feel bad for his dad. Like, right. You've done a lot of hurt, and you've caused a lot of trauma for your family, right. Especially Jerrod, because that's the only person that we're really focusing on. But I'm also just kind of like, this doesn't feel productive. Like, I think the whole time I was watching the show, I was like, none of this feels productive. Like, right. To your point, if your goal is to change relationships, improve relationships, make them better, this is not, seemingly doesn't feel like that's what you're doing. Right. And even like, sorry, are we done with his dad? I want to move on to his
No, because I have another thing.
Okay.
Sorry. And another thing. How disrespectful he is. He is just like OD disrespectful, I think, when he talks to both of his parents. But then there's also just like, to the point of like not actually trying to mend the relationship, but doing shit for shock value. Yeah. Like, oh, this is my boyfriend, and showing him a picture of this man in his underwear is like,
why are we doing this?
Like,
yeah.
You don't want to mend this.
Yeah.
No.
But that's what I was going to say about his mom. And she was like, I love you so much, I'm going to suck a man's dick tonight. And I'm like, what? Yeah. What is the point of this?
Troll. And that's what I meant by troll. Because why would you even say that to your mother?
Right. But I do understand. I don't know. I think I have this soft space in my heart that I understand everything that y'all are saying, but I also understand sometimes it's like the needle never moves unless you push it sometimes when it comes to...
That's not have to be true. Also, if you don't try any other approach, you'll never know. But
well, you have tried other choices, the things, and I think that that's the thing that we're not seeing, but I think that I kind of understand, because I feel like there are some things even within my own coming out that I felt like, oh, we're pussyfooting around this and they're not really talking about it. And I don't know. I finally just feel like I want to scream something. I don't, but I feel like that sometimes, because it's one of these things of like, oh, your friend. Oh, your friend. Oh, your friend. No, it's my boyfriend, and we do X, Y, and Z, because I've, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no. And I'm not, again, the mom to me is a different conversation, because I'm not, she was OD disrespectful also. Mm-hmm. But I think that there's like, and I only have this point of comparison because I'm not homosexual. Yes. But like, we don't do that. And maybe there's not the need to feel like we need to do that, because like our parents obviously know what's going on because they do it too. But like, there's just like not, there isn't that one-to-one. So it's really hard as like a straight person to like see that and not just think that it's like very disrespectful. I've also had that experience with like friends who are gay, who feel the need to like assert what date night looked like. And I'm just like, I don't do this with my straight friends. Like, I'm not like, there's no ick. I'm not opposed, like, bet. I'm happy for you. Right. But like, there isn't a one-to-one for this. And then I don't know if that's what you're trying to prove. Like, look, I'm like one of the guys. Like, I'm like what, but there that isn't happening on the other side of the table. So instead, it's just feeling like you're trying to affront me with this thing that I don't actually have issue with. And that was like, as a person who didn't have issue with it, like still found it happening. It's just like, it's like very confounding in that way of like, why why? Like, what is the ideal? What are you trying to?
I know. I get it. It's something about it, and okay, I'm done. I think I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I just think
I'm very curious.
Yeah, I am too, because I understand what you're saying too. Because I was also just like, it's not shoving it down. I feel like the word shoving it down our throats has been like changed in a way that it is not what
it means
we're meeting in real life. But like, I understand what you're saying, and we're like, I have had to suppress how I feel naturally for so long to make you feel comfortable.
Right.
And so now in this moment, I don't care about your comfort.
Right.
So I'm just going to like how uncomfortable you've made me feel for so long. I'm going to make you feel as uncomfortable. And that's to me how it came off.
Yeah.
Every single time he did it. Because every time I was like, good. Like, okay. Like, because it was just so much all the time. Yes. But I also he's probably felt uncomfortable for majority of his life. And now he's finally like, I don't care. I'm no longer going to subscribe to how you feel in this moment and how I always have to suppress how I'm feeling to make you feel good. I don't care. I'm not doing it anymore. And for us, maybe it's because we're seeing it in 30 minutes. We see everything. You know what I mean? Like it's probably not happening as aggressively in real life.
Right.
Although with his mama, I think it was.
Yeah. He was ready to give her ass a smoke.
Yeah. But I think that's why I think this would.
Yeah, it is. And it's hard to condemn people when they have to figure that out for themselves or what that looks like. And I guess that's my point. Like, I'm not saying that I agree, because that's not how I do it at all. But I also know people, for when they feel cornered and have been placed in the corner for so long, the pendulum will swing mighty wide when they decide to go back the other direction. And it's just like, I can't tell you what to do. I just know what I'm not comfortable with doing. So I'm not going to do that. But I also understand that you got into this place and you felt this way. And I'm not going to disregard your feelings about it. I just wouldn't have chose that way of being able to do it, because to me, that just seems extreme. And maybe the way I'm doing it takes a lot longer and I didn't just rip off the Band-Aid, but for me, it's what worked.
Right.
Versus for you, this is what you feel like you may need to do in this scenario. And I have not lived your experience.
Right.
So I can't tell you how to do it.
No, that's real.
Being a Black man in the South, with very strict, it seems like, Christian parents.
Extreme Christian mother.
Right. At least, yes. I don't know. And I only say that because the dad, it seems like he didn't get saved until maybe right before he told.
After his second family?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. After his second family. So it's giving that it may be that scenario. And so, but his closest relationship was that. And so maybe he feels like he's got to rattle the door for her, and possibly even the man who has decided, hey, I don't want no smoke in my house. I'm going to side with my wife, because I'm not that house, because I know I'd already messed up. And so if I got to be teen mom to keep the peace in my house, there are so many things. And so I didn't like watching it, but I just felt some sympathy about it. It was like, okay. I mean, I hear you.
I get it. It just seems counterproductive.
It does. It totally does. It's just like,
but
dude,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
I'm sighing with everyone else. I just have like a space of like sympathy for it, for sure. So,
So the church scene.
Which one? When they're in New York, or when?
Yes, when they're in New York specifically, because
that pastor ate her right up.
He ended.
Well, he did eat her right up. And to be honest with you, it's probably a lot of the things that I regurgitate to some people who have a tendency to be a little bit more closed-minded. However, what I did, I'm also one of those people like, so I know you say you love this church, but how often do you go to the church and do you tithe there?
But even if you do, what's that got to do with your relationship with God? Jesus.
And so that's what I'm getting at is like, I feel like you are battling your mother, and perhaps for good reason, because to Carol's point, if you want to live your life, and if your mom specifically has made you uncomfortable for a period of time, and she's used this space to do it, and now you're using this space to be like, I can still be me and love God at the same time. And
vice versa.
Right. And like, I I don't know. The way I was so sick of this entire series, and then the one moment where the pastor ate his mama up, and I was just like after that, can y'all just please come to an understanding so y'all can stop this petty bullshit that y'all are doing with each other?
I was curious about the time because I know how it was edited.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about the timing.
Yeah.
When that happened.
Because it seemed like a severe reversion back to like even worse than when we were first introduced to his mom. And so I'm like, is this actually like the timeline of events? Or is this like pieced together differently? Because if that's the reaction to like that pastor eating you up, like,
yes,
girl,
that's what I think that was. And
like,
that,
wow.
I'm just like, so, but now you madder than you were before because he ate you up and used you against you.
But now you're also doubling down on what you know is now not true because
that's what I was gonna come. He didn't. Well, from our point of view, he didn't tell her. He was like, I can give you a litany of Bible verses or stories in the Bible, examples in the Bible of where you're wrong, but he never gave them that. From our point of view, because as soon as he said that, I was like, well, I hope go run us the list, sir. Like I would, because she needs that.
Yes,
I think a lot of people would need the example. So like, I hope that off camera or they just maybe cut it out for whatever reason. I hope he gave it to her, because if not, she's gonna be like, yeah, you say that, but I've also had 50 plus years of every other pastor that I've ever been to saying that you're wrong. So I have, you saying I can spew them out to you, but not giving me any proof is like, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, we like that.
Your church is going
that
to hell,
clip was like what, like 5 minutes, and we know that the meeting was longer than that. Right. So yeah, I guess I assumed that actually conversation transpired. But yeah, I see your point.
I want to add a bit of perspective that I know you guys don't have, but I thought.
You calling us heathens?
No. With regards to the documentary series that he has done, not just this one, but the other ones. And the reason as to why I feel the way I feel is because about her in general, his mom in general, is I feel for her in a little bit of a way because I understand the litany of feelings she has to have felt for, even having a son who's her closest friend, and now she doesn't have him, and he's doing things that she doesn't agree with. But I also don't, because I feel like she felt like she could save a relationship with one man who has done her dirty directly, and then won't do the same for her son in a close relationship. Yep. That to me has just always irked me a little bit.
And he breaking a commandment, isn't he?
That part. Okay. And then not only that, I part of the reason why I also do feel bad for her is because in the previous the documentary he did before this one with regards to his father cheating, she was being told even by their pastor, or at least a friend that's a pastor, that she should forgive her husband, and that, he's a good man, and that, he made a mistake. And I was just like, oh, if this is what you've been fed, then I can kind of for years, and you can forgive these type of men, but in the same church be like, don't forgive these type of men and women. It's like, okay, well, this is just a choice. Yeah. Because what are we doing at this point?
That's a really good point. That might also highlight the level of vitriol Jerrod seems to have for his dad.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Because I'm just like, no,
she
man.
Forgive you, but not me.
Right. Like there's
for both of them.
Right. Like his dad
vitriol, like he spews, like
at his dad.
Well, at his dad, but also his mom as well.
Like, for sure. But I feel like with his mom, it's a little bit more like 1-to-1, like personal. But yeah.
I think it's more hurt than anything. For sure. But were you?
No, that's pretty much it.
No, I just her wanting to pray the gay away, and him agreeing to it.
The way she was so happy after,
so
she did that.
Excited and happy. And I think that's what you were talking about. Like, if we just came from church and now you want to pray the gay away, and like the only time I've seen you smile this entire episode was when he let you do that. I was just like,
let me tell you.
I just knew that he was going to be like, it didn't work. I'm going to go suck dick at the end of this afterwards. And I was shocked that was the one opportunity he didn't take to troll.
Well, I think he was visibly hurt, because when he was like, I immediately regretted it. I was like, yeah, like, why would you agree to do that? Like,
So off of the timeline, right? We have mom comes to town. Mom comes to church. like y'all are trying to okay, I want to try to fix it, right? Mm-hmm. We go to therapy. We go to church. Mama's pissed because she gets red. She gets an attitude. And it's almost like in a very Jerrod way, this is my very petty way of getting back at you. Let us pray. You see what I'm saying? Like, let us pray. And then I'm going to be slightly, I'm not even going to use the word slightly. I'm going to be condescending. I'm going to say, let's pray the gay away. Let's do all the things. Let me pray against everything that we've worked through this entire weekend. I'm going to smile. And then you're going to, again, feel just as miserable, if not more, than you did before.
Anybody else feel like it's a power play?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Like this whole thing is just like this.
It is Jerrod. Like he acts like his mama.
That's exactly what the sister-in-law said. Y'all the same person.
Yeah, exactly the same person.
So the reason why y'all are mad is because it's like y'all are fighting yourself, and neither one wants to let go. The arrogance that both of you carry won't allow you to see another person's point of view.
But then the other aspect, when they were in the therapy session, I was like, finally, because why have y'all been doing anything else? Right. Y'all need to be right here talking to a different person.
But if they're not telling the truth, then it defeats the purpose. Like, I'm just saying, like in his single therapy session.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about strictly with his mom.
If you're known to lie to a therapist, then what is the purpose of going to therapy? But if you're going to sit up there and lie with each other?
Wait,
she doesn't know that one.
What? I don't. What?
You're not correlating one to one. She's correlating one to one. We're going to
give her what the point is.
I don't think that he is lying in the therapy with his mom. That's the only thing I'm
not saying he is, but what I'm saying is if he's known to do that, then how productive is a therapy session with his mom, even though it seems like he's telling the truth? Is he telling the whole truth?
But she doesn't have that to be worried about because she doesn't know. She will now that she's watched the show.
True.
But before that, she had no idea that
she didn't want to go to therapy, period.
Yeah. And I don't think in therapy with his mom that there's as much to lie about. Like there's what his mom is doing is affecting him, and I'm gay. Like there's not much, whether I'm cheating or not on my significant other, it doesn't really like play into this space.
True.
But I forgot my train of thought.
Sorry.
It's okay.
That's what I was like, I really want to hear what you were going to say.
Sorry. Maybe it'll come back to
Why were they in therapy?
Oh, in that session when she's like talking about, well, why does it matter if I approve? And the therapist was like, well, because you're his mom and he loves you. And she was like, oh. And I was like, you are a sick woman.
Yes.
Like,
yep.
Like what? What is going on? Because like for that same, like you could, he could ask you the exact same question. Mm-hmm. What difference does it make to you if I'm transgressing against God? Because regardless, you're my mother.
Right.
Like it doesn't have to be adverse to our relationship. And you can still pray for me and still hope that I do better the same way that you do it for kids who are acting out in school and who, I don't know, are selling drugs. Like there's got a tattoo. Like there's so many other things that could be like, that are wrong or like not agreed upon that don't require you to create a divide between you and your child. You can still have a relationship and still try to, I mean, you can accept it or you can try to like pray the gay away, I guess. That's going to make it much harder to have a relationship. But what you can do in the meantime is just acknowledge and love regardless. And I think that is like, I feel like that is like not, somehow she's like not acknowledging that is an option. And it's like I can't decide if she's trolling or if she like genuinely does not realize that.
I think the thing that I've recognized that a lot of individuals who have come to terms with their sexual orientation being something different, especially for my generation and like our generation, maybe a little bit older, is a simple fact of realizing the social construct that is the church and how that plays into individuals who have made that social construct a majority of their identity. And then that meaning that depending on what type of church they're at, that kind of determines where they are. Not everyone, because some people have made a clear decision, hey, I might have a role, but I'm out. if you can't accept me and my kid, but there are some who cannot.
Mm-hmm.
There are some who feel like that social aspect, regardless of whether or not they really feel what they really feel about God and how God feels about it, seems to play a larger role in their decisions. Hence the reason I said his mom, I think, also decided to take his father back, because a lot of that has to do with that. Not everybody does that for that reason, but there are a lot of people who are like, hey, I need to maintain a certain status because this is kind of how I've developed my cultural influence, I guess, from that standpoint. And so I can understand her not putting two and two together, right? Like saying it as a relationship with God and really it being how I feel about this, because people tie that together, right? Like my how good of a Christian I am is based on how close I am to doing all these checkmark things right. That's not really what it is, but a lot of people do that. They put status on that.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like Kev on stage was talking about something, I can't remember, but he was basically just like, like when you become a parent and you have to teach your kids things, realizing like, do I actually believe these things I learned in church? Like, am I not a free thinker necessarily, but like, have I let everything I've been taught just completely overshadow everything I think? Or is that what I actually think? Or have I just been told to think this way? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And so his mom being told to think a certain way for so long, and then having the option to now possibly think differently, it's like I can't compete. Like I can't do it. It's too much for me. And that to me, that became very apparent. I mean, when she was praying for him, and that was the only time I saw her like excited and smile. Like even when they were like at the bowling alley having a good time, like just the two of them. Michael wasn't even there. It was just the two of them hanging out. I would think like, oh, like this is clearly something that you guys used to do together all the time. This is probably the first time maybe in a long time you guys have had like fun one-on-one time. And even in that, you can't like bring yourself to like enjoy it. Like it just seemed like the whole time she was on guard, and it might be because there's a camera crew and cameras and like all this stuff. Like, so you can't be off because all this stuff is in your face. Yeah. But like the one time we saw her light up was after that. And I'm like, oh, like nothing has penetrated.
Yeah. No. You know what? That's actually a really interesting point too, because I wonder how much of her reaction is performative based on what if my church family sees this? I wonder if that is how much of that is the lens in which she's thinking about how she reacts to anything that is coming at her, being that it's on camera.
Yeah. It definitely feels like that in the documentary he does that first addresses his parents, his father cheating on his mom. Like you can watch her every time she's trying to determine what the right Christian response is for things. And you're like, oh, you really don't know what to think. Right. Like you really need people to kind of give you this blueprint. And there's nothing against needing the assistance of forward thought sometimes, right? Like it's sometimes we do get caught up in the
indoctrination.
Yes. Right. And allowing people to kind of bring us along because it's a little bit easier. But you could tell when there was a conversation between the pastor who was trying to tell her, hey, you should forgive him, to her daughter-in-law who was married to Jerrod's brother, being like, no. I mean, just straight up, no. He needs to do more than apologize. And she's kind of like between them, like, I don't know how to feel. She's got good points. He's got good points. And it's like, oh, you've been on cruise control for so long that I really think, for me personally, as a person who has experienced kind of this, I feel like whether or not you agree with somebody being gay or not, what this conversation does in a family is kind of helps the family along in their way of independent thinking, regardless of anything else. Because from my own personal experience, I had my parents really have to get to this place for themselves, regardless of whether or not. And I was like, oh, great. That means that you've spent more time individually with God on some things that weren't just spewed out. Right. Like you have the opportunity to really have an elevated way of viewing the word, your relationship with him, all of that. And I think that sometimes maybe that's the way in which God needs us to move at this point. But I don't know. I appreciate that happening, even if some families don't like it, because it just gets you outside of that box, outside of that rhetoric. it just gives you an opportunity to have, God, just one, your own thought, just one. And that doesn't have to be cookie cutter. I think that's another thing too. There's this desire to like, oh, this is what the Bible says and I need to stay in this. But there's so many people in the story who struggled with different things. Allow yourself, your story to be different. It doesn't always have to fit within this cookie cutter way of life, because life ain't like that.
It reminds me of like people wanting to think for things to be like black and white. Like I know we hear this all this time in church conversations, other things like these are the commandments, this is the law. You do this and you're going to heaven. If you don't, you're going to hell. Like it's very like
black and white.
This or that. This, either or. And I think that's what his mom is struggling with in terms of like this situation feels gray to her, and she just like can't. She doesn't want to stay in the gray. Like she wants to be like, I've been taught this whole time being gay is wrong. It is bad. You're going to hell. So you need to not. You know what I mean? Like you need to not be this in order to come to the other side. And some things are just not going to be black and white. And like I don't know, some people, especially very hyper conservative type of people, can't seem to like be okay with, like you said, maybe disagreeing with something, but still loving you despite like she, for whatever reason, this is not something that she's able to do. And I hope,
which feels ironic because it's, a core tenet of the Bible.
And I hope that towards the end, it looked like they were having a better relationship. Maybe he's at the house a little bit more. She, like him and Michael are going to the house. Like I'm hoping that their relationship improved later, but jury's still out.
I'm also curious if she had the same conversation with her husband.
Probably not.
I think we don't know the answer, but I feel like
we don't know the answer, but like
it's giving
that their relationship.
No.
Well, also his health seemed like it declined rapidly.
Yeah.
There's some he seems very
but I think he's just getting older. It's something about our parents hitting a certain age and then
having two families is a stressor.
Having people know about the two families is probably more of a stressor than the hiding of the two families. But hey, who knows?
But like,
I don't know.
Do you know the Carmichaels? You talking about the Carmichaels or Carmichael 2.0?
Didn't he say he found out?
Going to high school with someone who is your half brother and other people knowing and you having no idea?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Is crazy.
He found out at school. Didn't someone say something? Is that sis? Okay. Yep. Am I confusing stories?
No, you are not.
And I think his older brother did too. So it's just like,
I wish I would have thunk it.
That is crazy. Because who do I fight? Okay, sorry. Okay, for the final closeout question for this, at the last episode when he who will not be named, I don't know, masquerader, was watching the playback of the episodes with Jerrod, he was like, that was very upsetting. I feel like I'm seeing things that I am not supposed to be seeing, and I just feel bad for you because they're very traumatic and they're happening on screen for everyone to view. And Jerrod's response was something along the lines of, my impulse was to record this show to show that this is how this makes me feel. And I wanted to pose this question to you all to ask, is that your takeaway from these 8 episodes?
The mass persons?
No, Jerrod's.
That you understand how he feels as a result of the things that have transpired in his life across love, friendship, and parents.
Okay, so for me personally, I think that what my takeaway is not necessarily what he feels, but some of the root of why he's an ass.
Come on, root.
Okay.
I believe that there's a catalyst. There's a wonderful book I've been reading. It's called The Garden Within. It's not cast. It's called The Garden Within by
I started that.
Dr. Anita Phillips. It's great.
Really
Y'all should start a book club.
Y'all.
We're in a book. I'm in a book club.
That's what they're reading it from church.
Yeah, but anyway.
Shade, no shade.
You can tell who goes to Bible study and who doesn't.
It's actually not for Bible studies specifically.
Right.
It's
exactly
separate. But anyway, we're digressing.
Yes.
So in the book, it talks about when a seed is planted, your heart is the soil. And when something is planted there, then depending on what you feed it is how it will grow, right? It's literally the garden within. So it's giving what he's experienced through his mom, what he's experienced through his dad has led him into this space where he's constantly trying to heal from their own personal hurt. So it's like literally watching generational trauma on TV and watching like his mom bottle up this hurt from adultery and combating what she's been poured into at church, and then having to pour that into her child, albeit might be the best that she knows how to in the moment, is still hurtful to another individual. Right. And now he's carrying that while also picking up on traits of his mother and father, which is arrogance and seems like a touch of entitlement, and carrying it. And that's what I take away is how we got here of you acting the way that you do, and yet you still not trying to really find a resolution on how to be a better human.
I think for me, the first couple episodes, I was like, who likes you? Let you do this.
Yeah.
Because this, why did you put this? Like, I don't understand why you put this out.
Yeah.
As we've watched more and we got into more of his family dynamic, I was like, okay, this is making a little bit more sense to me. This doesn't feel complete train wrecky as it did in the beginning. And I hope that, and I was like, I hope watching this back, you and your family, maybe you guys can see how each other is feeling, because both sides are coming across as there's a lot of hurt. Yeah. And I hope that all of you guys can see how your feelings are hurting each other. Right. But then when I saw him eating the popcorn with the masked man, just like this is the greatest movie I've ever seen in my entire life. I was like, I don't be crying. Like, if I'm watching all this back and this is my family, my loved ones, all these things, if I was him, I think I would be in tears. I don't think I'd be watching this with joy and admiration as to what I have just put together. Like, I just put the greatest movie and I'm about, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's how I feel. So I don't know if he got from it he was hoping to get from it, but I hope he did. But I am unsure.
The popcorn scene to me was very performative. Like, this is how I want to look reviewing my documentary back with my friend here in this empty theater.
No, but then when the man was like, what was like, he
yes, and fired him up.
What is this? Because I was like, wow,
what did I just watch?
It was a little rude and crass at the moment, but I was also just kind of like, I feel the same way. Like, what is this?
No, justice for that man. I don't know who he is. He's very smart to not identify himself, but I agree with him like 98% of the time. He's a friend that loves you.
Yes.
For real.
I think I don't feel like I walked away better understanding how Jerrod feels about most of the relationships in his life. I feel like I walked away understanding him a little bit better, but not how he feels. Like, I understood better how he will respond to feeling wronged, how he will react to certain things, but not how he feels. And I think it's very interesting that that's what he thinks that this is portraying, because it's not a lot of what we see. Even in the most vulnerable times, his apology tour, when he's like meeting with his dad, we're seeing the anger, we're seeing the I'm tired of being made to feel a certain way that I don't want to feel because it's pejorative to me, but I still don't know what that feeling is. So I just thought that it was, I posed the question because I thought it was very interesting, because as soon as he said it, I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is you're showing me how you feel. I can't put a name to it. I can't like think of a clear scene where I felt it. Like that just was not my takeaway. I took a lot of other stuff away. Some I wish I could leave.
A lot.
But yeah, sucking toes. I could have gone without that.
What
are you feeling when that's happening? What are you trying to tell us?
My whole life.
Ick.
I don't need it.
Ick. That's what you felt? Because it didn't look like you felt ick. Because I felt ick.
Yeah. Also the like all of the revolving door.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, you do this a lot. How often do you get tested?
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, sir,
there's a lot of random niggas.
What is your status?
Yeah.
Do you know?
I hope to God.
This is too much.
I hope to God, because it's a lot.
Does he own stock in Trojan or something.
Maybe.
I don't think I ever saw one.
I saw lube.
Lube.
Yeah,
I saw
lube.
I didn't hear not one discussion about
condoms.
Did you just say you heard lube?
I didn't mean it that way, and that's why I said it. I wish I hadn't said it, but I heard them say lube.
Okay. Saya, close us out.
Right. Yep.
How did you? What was the takeaway?
It's interesting. I found it very interesting because when you asked when I forgot that he asked the question, I agree. I think at first I did not feel that way, but I had to play some things back for my own self, and then I realized that there are some things that I think I did feel the way he felt on some things, but I wonder. It's making me think if it's because I've had my own experience with some of these things, right? So because I've had my own experience almost completely on the same level as him, as far as like, I have a friend. I told my friend I like my friend. And then we had to navigate what that looked like after, I'm like, having done some of the things and it be also same sex, there's some things that I feel like I couldn't put a word to, but then saw on screen. So then I understood why I felt some ways about things that I didn't even realize I felt that way until seeing him having gone through it. And I'm like, I've done that too. That's what it looks like. Kind of, sort of, because maybe some of this is also like him playing into it. But if he's playing into it, it played into it and it made me feel that. If that makes sense in that way. So I don't know if you can have empathy a lot of the times without having full experience or at least been on kind of the same side of it. So for me, I would say I did feel some things about like that Tyler thing. I did feel like I understood his feelings with regards to his mother, and which kind of helped me a little bit understand his feelings towards his father. I wouldn't say that I fully felt it at first. There were times where I was just like, this is like, why? Okay. But there were other times I was like, okay, in hindsight, it did. So for me, but I've also, I don't know, Jerrod's docuseries, when he started it before this, intrigued me a lot. And I understand he calls it radical honesty. And I don't know that I actually believe that it's radical honesty as much as addressing some things people haven't talked about before and hoping that people will give you their honest answer, but that's not always the case. But it felt like you're bringing things to the table that people really don't want to talk about and hoping that they do. That's what it felt like. It didn't feel like, oh, we're getting these real raw emotions about things. It was just like, oh, I've never heard anybody have a take on this in a way that's not scripted or somebody that's not a family member is asking questions about. Like Oprah is asking those questions of people sometimes, but that's only after somebody's been ready to talk about it. What about the times when people aren't ready to talk about it, which is what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that that's radical honesty any more than it's just poking the bear and seeing what happens.
Poor man's therapy.
Right.
Yeah. I also feel,
or rich man in this case.
Yeah.
Not to belabor this too much. I also don't know if conversations are being really had like that we're having. Like, I don't know if people are having the conversations about the deeper level of things that were discussed on the show. Only thing I've really heard about this show was him sucking toes, him saying that his boyfriend's like a slave master. God. Like, I haven't heard people really talk about like the serious conversations that need to be had that he had with family. It's all the salacious stuff that happened in the first 2 episodes. So I'm hoping more conversations are coming out of the show as hopefully people watch past.
Maybe they were like me and we're like, you know what?
Stop.
I'm good. Keep going.
I've had enough.
Just finish it.
I think that that's something too that I was kind of shocked when I heard people actually talking about the show and that was their only takeaway. But I also have history on the other side of his other documentaries that people are like, I never even heard this man. All of a sudden I know he's talking about race play in his relationship and sucking toes. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like I could totally see that being a thing. Whereas I was like, oh, I hate what this is doing to his family, but I really do like what he's trying.
If it works.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So who are we affirming on this? Anybody got any thoughts? I think I want to affirm for our listeners that I've had
go for it.
That thoughts about this.
That's not why I was laughing. Sorry.
Oh, okay. But I have thoughts about I think that I want to affirm for our listeners that the difficult conversations They are necessary. I'm always a big advocate of like getting to the root of things, and I advocate for people to try to figure that out. But it doesn't always necessarily mean that you have to include other people to figure that out, like your family members or anything else. Sometimes getting to the root of those things, and I'm advocating for you guys getting to the root of those things, is to give you and bring you to a peace of mind of at least understanding yourself better. I think Jerrod said he wanted the audience to feel away, but I honestly think he needed to feel away too. And I want to affirm for our listeners that that is cathartic. Being able to understand your own self, getting to the root of the reasons why you act a certain way, even if you don't really get it the first time, is a way of being able to really understand yourself and be able to move forward in your life. And so I affirm for our listeners to do that. If you have an opportunity to do therapy, I affirm for you guys to do that. If you don't have an opportunity to do therapy, I affirm for you to at least be reflective. Be reflective of your relationships, whether or not you can have those reflective conversations or not. Because I guarantee you, being able to do that allows you to be able to see where you are and be able to have an opportunity, if you choose, to make some changes that will hopefully be positive for yourself, but at large, the people around you.
I want to piggyback off of that regarding having difficult conversations. I want to affirm for our listeners honesty.
Radical honesty.
Yeah, radical honesty, but not radical honesty in the appropriate places. And what I mean by that is I'm an advocate of therapy, and people should view therapy as going to see a doctor for your mind. And just as you would a regular doctor, tell them the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to make sure that your body is whole and healthy. You should do the same thing with your therapist, is being completely honest, not having the difficult conversation with them, so that even if you don't know the root, if you haven't been able to be self-aware enough to identify what's going on in your space, and how your mind works, being honest with them so that they can help you identify it. So then that way you don't hurt other people, you don't continue to hurt yourself, and you can create an environment that is centered around your happiness. So I affirm honesty.
I will affirm. I talked a lot of shit about Rothaniel on this podcast, so I'm going to affirm having the difficult conversations, because I think that there is a lot there that can be taken away from this, maybe a lot more about how not to do it, but I do think that there's something about having them. I do think that, and it obviously doesn't need to be on camera in front of production, blah blah blah, but like I think a lot of times, myself included, we don't have the difficult conversations because we feel like we know what it's going to yield. We know that what it's not going to do. We know what like pattern it's going to project and continue, and so we don't have them, we don't afford them for ourselves, and we don't put our own feelings first by getting the answers we need from people that may have wronged us, that may have just not been in a place where they could do what we needed at a time that for them to do it, and XYZ. And so what I affirm is having the wherewithal to have the difficult conversations, even when they're hard. They feel uncomfortable, and they don't feel like they might get you to the exact end result that you want from one conversation, but to keep having it until you feel like you got to where you needed to get for yourself.
I think I'm going to affirm that sometimes things are going to be gray, and that's okay. I know we always want a yes or a no, and that feels easier to move forward with things, but that's not the reality of life. Things are just not always going to be clear, and especially when other people are involved, because we all think differently. We have different life experiences. Things are just going to be different. And I think you can still love through the gray, even if you never get to the black or the white. And I'm just affirming for people that, or affirming to people that, I think we're not always going to agree on things, and that is okay, but you can still love your loved ones and people that are in your life through that. And causing discord or trying to push how you feel on someone is probably never, ever going to end the way that you want it to end. Right. So I just want to affirm that it's okay to live in a little bit of a gray space while you figure out the path forward with the people in your life, even when you disagree.
Word. Yes. All right, y'all.
Good job, everyone.
We did it.
We did it, Joe.
Thanks, y'all. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.